Not too long ago, the RV community saw the release of the axle temperature sensor. There was a good amount of buzz around this product. Having the ability to see a spindle or bearing issue before the actual failure could allow you to slow down and pull over. The problem was it was so new that nobody really had a chance to install it and explain how it actually works. We just traveled from Pennsylvania to Tennessee and back with these installed, and I have some info you'll want to see. What's going on, everyone? Today I want to show you a couple RV gadgets and ideas that actually make sense. They solve real RV problems and can save you a lot of time. There's one I'm still on the fence about. I've gotten by without it for 10 years, but I installed it anyway, and I'll tell you what I think. So let's not waste any time and dive right in. So the HaloView axle temp sensor looks like a tire pressure sensor inside an outer case. It mounts to the axle with basically a large hose clamp as close to the hub as you can get, with the sensor positioned behind the axle. And once they're installed, you sync the sensors to the monitor in your tow vehicle and you set the max temp to 125 degrees. We'll talk about why 125 in a minute. The idea is to detect a temperature spike in this area around the axle, the hub, the spindle, the brakes, or the bearings, and that's it. From there, the system will take a temperature reading every 6 seconds and alert you if the sensor exceeds 125 degrees. Now, you have two ways to view the axle temps. On the TPMS screen, you'll see all your tire pressures and tire temps at one time under the T1 slot. Tap the T2 slot, which is designated for the axle temp sensors, and you'll see all the axle temp sensors at one time. Now, if you're driving and using the cameras, the TPMS overlay display will first cycle through the tires individually, showing you the pressure and temperature of each tire at one time. Then it switches itself over to the T2 setting and will cycle through all your axle sensors. That cycle will just continue to repeat. On our Tennessee trip, I noticed our highest temps were reached within about 20 to 30 minutes of highway driving. I also noticed the axles were usually around 15 degrees higher than the outside temperature. I'm sure that range will vary if you're driving in colder temps. Here's the thing with these sensors. There's a lot of different variables. Your temperatures may not run the same as the next RV. The 125 degree high temp setting is just a starting point. After a couple drives, you'll get a good idea of where your temps will top off, and you can adjust your high temps based on that information. As of now, they are only compatible with two HaloView systems, the BT7 and the BT10. You can buy these systems with the axle sensors, or you can add axle sensors to your existing BT7 or BT10. Regardless of whether you get these axle temp sensors or not, an infrared thermometer is still a good tool to keep in your arsenal. I occasionally check all four wheels during pit stops on long trips and almost always after arriving at our destination. I do use it less now since we've installed the axle temp sensors, but for less than 20 bucks, you can pick up a basic gun that will do the job. Even with a TPMS, we still couldn't see spindle or bearing failures, usually until it was too late. This provides additional awareness to one of the most dangerous hazards of operating an RV. The next thing I want to show you is a floor register from a company called Safener. They're available in a couple different sizes and colors, but unlike many of the OEM registers that are plastic, these are aluminum, so they'll hold up to foot traffic much better. Here's the kicker though, they come with a steel magnetic cover. Since RVing is primarily a warm weather activity, many of us aren't using the furnace all that often. Just drop in the covers, no constantly having to remove the register to vacuum all the stuff out of the duct. Also, because the cold air from your AC sinks, these covers keep the cold air in the living space and out of the furnace ducting, which can be a considerable amount of space since they usually extend most of the length of your RV. When it's time to use the furnace, just remove the cover, and they even give you a little storage bag. Next on the list, also from Safener, these aluminum bumper caps. Many of us store our sewer hoses in the rear bumper. Many of us have also lost the rubber end caps somewhere along the journey. These just mount on the outside of the bumper. The door is vented to help release any moisture inside the bumper, and the locking carabiner is attached to the mounting assembly with a cable. They fit on your standard 4x4 inch square bumper, and that's it. No rocket science behind this gadget, and no worrying about forgetting or losing your bumper cap or your sewer hose on the highway. This next one is an accessory from RV Snap Pads, and I think it's one of their best ideas yet. There's so many different uses for it other than what it's intended for. It's called the Cap. It's an 8.5 by 8.5 inch rubber pad, 1 inch thick, simple design. They are built to interlock over the plastic leveling blocks so many of us already have. One thing I do at every campsite is place these blocks under my tongue jack to shorten the length the post has to extend. Simple lever arm and lateral deflection science. A shorter post increases stability. It provides more surface area than the block, and your tongue jack will grip better to rubber than it will plastic. Also, if you have landing gear that is already uncomfortably close to the ground, you might want to keep as much ground clearance as possible. Instead of a permanent pad that can reduce that clearance, just drop the cap under the jack after you park it. Definitely not as convenient as a traditional RV snap pad, but some of these auto leveling systems are already low. Additionally, these caps can be used as knee pads if you need to work on something or have to crawl under the RV to open a low point or fresh water tank drain. They can be used to level a table or a grill, under your water softener or water filter to prevent damage, under the feet to stabilize a telescoping ladder to prevent your steps from sinking. Definitely a lot of uses, even if you already have snap pads on your landing gear. If these are something you're interested in, I'll put a link and discount code down below in the video description that'll take 10% off your order. Okay, here's the one that I was on the fence about. Another aluminum accessory from Safener. This simply mounts around the travel trailer's tongue jack post with a couple bolts and nuts and gives you a place to hang your safety chains so the hooks aren't sitting in the dirt. There's also a cup to hold your 7-pin connector, which is vented on the bottom to release moisture. There's even a loop to connect the emergency brake cable when you're parked, so everything is off the ground. These have been around for a while. For 10 years, I never got one. I always just wrap my power cord around my tongue jack post a couple times to keep it off the ground after disconnecting, and would put my chains on my tongue jack foot. I will say I think I've come around on this. It's much easier than doing all of that, and just one of those easy to install, inexpensive, and zero maintenance upgrades we love as RVers. You guys know the drill. This and all other products today will be linked down below. Okay, there's nothing mind-blowing about these next two. They're just ideas to solve some small problems I noticed every time we were setting up or tearing down. On our Grand Design, my freshwater hose connected to the RV wet bay inside the pass-through storage. Now, this was years ago, before full metal water inlets were easy to find and easier to afford. Instead, the OEM inlet was plastic. Constant connecting and disconnecting wears that fitting out over time, so we install a 90-degree elbow fitting to take some of that leverage weight off the fitting, probably something many of you know already, but you're still putting pressure on that fitting every time you connect or disconnect, and when these break, the entire inlet will usually snap off long before the threads wear out. So what I did was install a leader hose. It was 3 feet long and permanently connected to the 90. The 90 was permanently connected to the wet bay further away, so much less stress, wear, and tear on the inlet every time you connected and disconnected. The leader hose also made setting up and tearing down a little bit easier. I just drop it through the hatch and connect the hose from the bib using quick connects. And even if you already switched to a metal water inlet, the nice thing about a leader hose is that every time you're tearing down, you're now disconnecting the water source outside the RV. The leader hose will drain while you're packing up, pull it through the hatch, and no water mess to clean up inside your storage bay. Fast forward to our current RV, the wet bay is not in the pass-through storage, and I've replaced the plastic inlet to stainless. My coax cable is in here as well. The reception on coax cables can go from really bad to a very clear picture with just one more snug turn on that cable. Now, I can hand tighten it, but it's in a tight enough spot that it's just a pain to get pliers in here. A few venture owners have asked for a hack on the coax cable that's also in the wet bay, so I found this 6-inch coax cable extension online, took my time tightening it down, hopefully for the last time, and because it extends out past the wet bay, it's less frustrating and much quicker to tighten during setup and remove when we're leaving. You can also get coax quick connects. I just prefer a threaded connection on coax. They seem to last longer in my experience, but that's an option as well for tight areas like this. Some of these things are not new products or brilliant ideas, but they can solve some problems and save some time. All these saved seconds and minutes add up. Money comes and goes, but our time is limited. Spend less of it setting up and more time doing the things you want on your trip. Simple upgrades and personalizing your RV with your own 2 hands can be a very enjoyable and rewarding thing. Let me know down in the comments, what are some of the simple upgrades you've done that make RVing that much more enjoyable? Since you like RV gadgets, on the screen right now is a video of the top 20 RV accessories chosen by your fellow RVers. I hope you consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.